Welcome back, listeners. Well, Allie, in segment one, we kind of got caught up on kind of where the crop stage was and for corn specifically. And segment two here, post-emerge corn weed control is really into full swing. And there's been a few things going on. And I think the first thing, Allie, driving around the last few days, wow, there's some big weeds out there, and especially some giant ragweeds, and the annual grass is coming. But any comments you kind of seen similar things out there? The weeds maybe not saying they're ahead of us, but they maybe caught us a little bit off guard.
Yeah, I would say I was out in a field yesterday just making some general observations, looking at some purple corn like we mentioned in the first segment. And weeds do really start to catch your eye as you're out walking through some of those fields. That paired with the fact, pretty hot day yesterday, but coming off of Monday, a really windy day that we would have liked to get out there and spray that couldn't. We're really getting to that point where we don't have much of an option but to maybe just get this post-application done, because in some cases weeds are getting a little more out of control than we'd like to see. But just your overall take of maybe where are some of those places that we overlooked, or what are some different approaches that we need to think about as we move in to weed control in the future?
Yeah, a couple things, Allie, that I've maybe noticed this year, maybe more than the last couple of years. But like you said, it's been kind of just such a challenging planting and spray seasons last couple of years, and maybe haven't really just kind of focused in on this. But making the rounds, I did notice a lot of fields. I saw a lot of heavy broadleaf pressure, and after doing some investigation, it seems like there was a lot of situations where we maybe had a half rate of some grass down, but we didn't really do anything for broadleaves, and that has maybe caught me a little bit off guard, kind of what triggered that. But in a lot of cases, if I am going to put a half rate down for the grass, I really encourage putting some pre down to try to hold back some of those broadleaves as well. But I have run into that a little bit. And one other thing where it seems like there's a lot of growers maybe trying to pull off the one pass early post. And I think in some cases we maybe didn't pull the trigger early enough. And one thing, and this is just a strategy when you think about doing that, and maybe back when I was in my retail custom application days, I would kind of stage growers this way where, and I had this question like 2 Fridays ago. Corn wasn't very big yet, but the grower's like, I got a nice window here. What's your thoughts on maybe jumping on this a little bit early? And I said, I'd encourage you to do that. In a lot of cases, I would take my residual. Let's just say I'm spraying glyphosate with Resicor or Triple Flax or Sure Start or products in that realm, just so it makes sense. I would actually bump that rate a little bit. Maybe if I'm going to run a quart and a half of Resicor, I might bump up to a quart and 3/4 just to give myself a little bit more layered residual. And then as I go down through, I'll probably go back to that 1.5, and I might finish down at 1.25, for example, as I work my way through. So I'm not going to, spend more money overall, but I might redistribute where I need more residual. But I think in some cases we might have missed an opportunity to jump on some of these acres a little bit early, just to spread our workload out a little bit, where I kind of feel like we're in a little bit of a scramble mode right now where everything's ready at the same time, where we maybe could have jumped ahead of these. But maybe reevaluating what we're putting down for pre's, and maybe, playing with those residual rates and jumping here a little early on some acres might have been beneficial for a few fields that I've seen across the area.
So keeping on that same topic, we are where we sit today. In some of those cases, the weeds are taller than we'd like to see as we make these applications. And then also, I've mentioned that extreme heat that we've been sitting at this week as well. What are some things that folks should maybe tweak a little bit just to make sure that we're either getting better coverage or also protecting ourselves as we look at these extreme temps?
Yeah, this is something that comes up whenever it gets hot. And it's also been if I have a little bit of a pet peeve, Allie, I've noticed this in recent times, whereas we're spraying some of these early post applications, we've had a lot of crop response the last few years. And when it gets hotter, our risk of crop response increases. And a lot of it isn't necessarily the herbicides we're using causing that response. It's actually maybe not quite choosing the right surfactants or the right rate. And in a lot of cases, if we're spraying glyphosate, and I mentioned some products that, like Triple Flax or Resicor that have acetochlor in it and other broadleaves, there's a lot of oil in glyphosate and acetochlor products that sometimes adding crop oil, we're actually just increasing our surfactant load too high. And it's not the herbicide, it's actually a surfactant burn taking place. But in most cases, if we're spraying glyphosate with an acetochlor with broadleaf, in a lot of cases, you can actually just run your water conditioner, and you maybe don't need to add more crop oil or NIS. There's likely enough in that mix or the tank mix that you got there. But in most cases, I like to really be a little bit careful where we need to be. That now, if I'm spraying only glyphosate and not having acetylchlor with it, then we want to maybe look at some NAS and some of that. But we just need to watch that really close. And when it gets really hot like this, I fear I'll drive around Thursday and Friday. I'm going to see some corn that got hit really hard, that's being sprayed today. But if you're in the cab, listen to this, really be watching that surfactant load and be a little conservative when it gets hot, especially if you're using a lot of products that got a lot of oil or surfactant in them already.
Yeah, but thanks for walking through that. I think it's just good to kind of understand what our options are, and then we'll hopefully see these temperatures moderate themselves out a little bit yet this week, hopefully. Another quick question before we go. Some folks inquiring, maybe they're done with those post applications, questioning, is it not too early to start on some of those side dress applications?
Yeah, I think I only got 15 seconds here yet, Allie, but I have a rule of thumb, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but my rule is as soon as I can roll the corn, the window is open for side dress. But, the window is open. We're maybe a little bit on the early side for some situations, but no harm, no foul. If the window is open, I'd take advantage of it and get started because you never know what the weather's going to do when you get to June. So that's it for this week, Allie. Next week, we'll come back with some more updates, and we'll see what we see as we walk fields.